Hello, hello. Yes, and we are back with the Dance Gems. As always, we have a new, hopefully exciting subject for you today. While the clock is running down, we are going to talk about the power of partnering, the magic of more than one. And to be talk about more than one, of course, I'm not by myself at all. Let me see if my good partner and friend Ton Greten is there. Hey, Ton, are you there?
I'm there.
Yeah,
Nice to see you, Sean, and hear
nice.
you.
Nice to see you
Yes,
too. Hey, I would like
happy.
to talk about the power of partnering, the magic of more than one. What do you think? You like that?
Yeah, the word is saying everything. Power, partnering, partner, the magic, and yeah, more than one. So the
Okay.
title is perfect, Sean.
Okay, let's just start and say, of course, welcome to everyone who's listening to our podcast. Whether you do that on Apple or YouTube doesn't really matter so much, right? But spread
Yeah.
it if you can. All right, the power of partnering, the magic of more than one. Yeah. In traditional dancing, of course, traditional ballroom dancing, that's where I at least grew up in. If it comes to a dance career, then partnering was always, one boy, one girl. Very traditional. Luckily, we can see that now in a larger context, but that's how I grew up. We use very traditional words like leader and follower and stuff like that. And we are going to talk about that a little bit. Is it always just two? Can it be more? Is it leading and following? All those kind of things, right? All right, Tom, give me your first thoughts and let's have an inspiring discussion today.
Yes, absolutely, Sean. Is it not more about cooperation?
I would say so.
Yes,
I would say so, of course.
and communication?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah,
So, and how, yes,
co-creation. What do you think?
co-creation.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And how you can do that, which media you have for that one to cooperate when you dance. So we speak about dancing. Which media you would have? That's I give you a question back, Sean.
Well, of course, let's start first maybe with communication, right? There is, of course, you have all the normal things that you have available to communicate. You have that available. Whether
And
that,
normal is and normal.
well, I was going there, right? I was going there. So we communicate more than we mostly realize with all the senses that we have. And that doesn't change because it's dance. Whether we use one of the five senses, some people say six, one of the senses a little bit more than in a normal conversation like you have, that is something you can debate. And But in traditional partner dancing, we would not talk to each other. But is that a rule? I don't think there is a rule that you cannot talk to each other. For
I
other
think
reasons,
they make an unwritten rule from it.
they made an unwritten rule. And then Ton and Jean would not be Ton and Jean if we not at least challenge all these rules. Now, then you could,
Yes.
of course, communicate what we call non-verbal communication. So
Exactly.
so that means that I could communicate you without using words, right? But then I use all the other senses that I have. Um, and I always joke, if someone says, "How can you be a better leader and follower?" I always joke, you send each other an email and then you
Mhm.
look at your phone and you know what to do. But of course, that is impossible.
Yes, maybe I can say a few of them.
Yes. Hmm.
Yes, because I would say mainly non-verbal communication,
I would
but
agree with that.
it's not only non-verbal communication because
No.
I think you could also use your speaking
I
and
think so too.
sounds.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think so too.
yes, and also your body language,
Which
and
is
also
that's non-verbal, of course.
yes, that's non-verbal, That's one of the elements of nonverbal communication. Your facial expression, it's one of the nonverbal communication. The gestures is one. So all this nonverbal communication you could use. Even how you do this in dynamically wise, fast or hard, in the face or in your body language. So this you could use everything to communicate, and mainly we do it by touch. But I think not, I'm think when I say think, I'm not sure. It's mainly uh, with this medias, but also you have a cultural background. And if you have a cultural background and you think it's traditional, then you would do mainly man leads and woman or girls follow. But we think it's 2023 and it's on equal base and not on lead and follow base. There is a leader, but the girl could be a leader in a traditional way when you dance with a boy girl. But if you dance with a group with only girls, then you need also other tools. And your eyes is one of the sentence you could use in the facial expression. You could also, even the nose, when I do this, the direction, nobody can see it. Go to the right or go to the left. And yes, and your gestures you could use. And I write also something down on my paper. And yeah, what you could practice is your awareness. How more you are aware of the different non-verbal communications media or the tools of it, then how more you could communicate. It's like you speak French, English, German, Dutch. How more languages you are speaking, how more you could communicate. That was just an example because we not just lead
Mm,
by speaking. What do you think
mm.
about it, Sean?
No, yeah, I think you mentioned the tools with which you could communicate, like your senses, your eye visual lead, but even, even this, even just the gesturing. But um, for me, it's also, of course, the openness to willing to understand what the other tries to communicate to you. So partnering has to do, and then of course, I use the word listening here, but it's of course listening with more than the
Ye-
ears, right? So
Yes,
there
yes,
is,
yes, yes.
yes, it's of
Absolutely,
course.
Sean.
So it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do this, but if I just decide I don't want to listen to Tom, then So there is definitely there is a communication starts with the willing to understand each other, right?
Mm-hmm. The,
So yeah, so that's I think that's an
yes,
important factor.
yes. Mostly, it's one have an expectation and the other one cannot think what your expectations are. So if you are not clearly in your nonverbal communication, then the receiver will receive
Yeah,
different information or non-information.
yeah.
And then sometimes, and I had a lot of arguments with my partner before because I was thinking for my partner, and still
Mm-hmm.
this happened. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not possible because if you send something,
Mm-hmm.
send it with respect, then the
Mm-hmm.
one who receive it can receive it with respect, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can get a reaction on it. It's like I throw the ball to you, you will catch it, and then you throw the ball back, and I can catch it. And you can do this on varied ways
Mm-hmm.
that the communication is there in the partnering.
Mm-hmm.
And in dancing is this really a very important
Yeah.
point to practice because on based on that you have this is your performance then, and people will recognize how you communicate with each other.
Yeah. Well, of
you
course,
need
yes.
you
So,
need to practice this.
so there
Absolutely.
is in communication, there is always a sender and a receiver.
Mhm.
And as you notice that I try to not already interrupt Ton while he is sending to me. So that's an important thing. Even if I think it's sometimes too long, I think Ton, let me just say something. So, but anyhow, I receive. Um, and so we talk about expectation a little bit later. That is true for all communication. There's always a sender and a receiver, but if both send at the same time, so Tom, if you now can talk at the same time with me,
Yes, I will do that, Sean, and
see,
you
then
continue also.
that would
Now,
not be
what
good
is
because
this? No,
if
no,
you
this
can
would not working.
yeah, yeah, so neither Ton and I, we get irritated, and also the audience will give up, so both are sending. But if we are both receiving, let's do that too, that won't work either.
So I listen to you, you speak. So, and now I would say with
But if we
words
both receive,
or with body language.
no, if we just both receive, we cannot both receive at the same
No, no,
time.
no, 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 not possible. You send
That's what I'm saying.
and
I said
and you
if we
listen.
that's exactly what I'm saying, Tom. You're not receiving. So
Yes, yes,
if we both send at the same time, that won't work. If we both receive at the same time, that won't really work either. Now you can never stop sending. Let me also make that clear. You can stop receiving, but you cannot stop sending. Even if I
no,
don't do anything, I'm still sending you a message, right? So,
absolutely.
and then there is one thing in between. And there are two things in between. There is the media through which we send the message. That could be with a connection, that could be a visual lead, could be an auditory lead. And in this case, we send it through a camera and into your living room or wherever you. That's called the medium. So we also have our body to use that medium, and it's often a combination of. And then, strangely enough, there is almost always something that could disturb the message. And I use that word loosely, and we start to talk a little bit about, different perception. There could be a cultural perception. There could just be too much noise in the room. There could be just the technology that's not working for us well. So we always have to be a little bit aware of something that Ton sends to me could be filtered in a way that Ton is not fully aware of and I'm not fully aware of, but we try to become aware of these things. For instance, culture. Um,
Yes, yes, yes,
so those are the components if it comes to communication. We have a sender, we have a receiver, we of course have a message, obviously. We have a medium through which we send the message. And then there could be something in there that disturbs that message. And it could be just something
yeah.
simple like too much noise or the technology is not working right. If I turn my camera off, you can see me, so then the message is disturbed. But it could also be something like cultural expectations, all these kind
Yes.
of things. What do you think about that, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. And this is the mostly um, where it by happened that you have a different of opinions by
Yeah,
because your background is different. And if you would really listen and doing research and exploring the medias and how many medias you have, you would understand more what you could use. And if you come on the same terminology of the medias and how you can use them, then you start to growing as dancer. If you not understand these mediums and you stay in your cultural background, then it is a challenge for you to come on the same level
yeah,
in understanding.
yeah, for sure. I totally agree. I also think that if um, if I ask you a question, and we see that in dancing a lot. So in this case, I in let's use the question and ask and answer model
Non-verbal, Sean.
non
Non-verbal.
non-verbal
Yes.
in
Okay.
this case. But if I ask you a question non-verbal and I already tell you, Ton, what you have to answer. Yeah, right.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
but and that is so we think like, oh yeah, that is nonsense, Sean and Ton. That never happens, but this happens a lot. So today, as we record this and this podcast for you guys, it is on a Friday, and it's actually Friday, and you might not hear it on Friday, October the 20th. But I'm just saying this as an example. But I say to Ton, Ton, I'm going to ask you a question and you have to answer Friday, October the 20th. So, are you ready for it? Yes, I'm ready for it. Yeah. What day is it today? Today it's Friday, October the 20th, but probably Ton already thinks like, well, don't ask me the question. Because Ton could
Yes.
have answered,
No.
it's a beautiful Friday, it's the day before Saturday. There are many ways he could answer the question, and it's still a acceptable answer. If he would say, I don't know, triangle, then I would think like, what? you
Yes.
know?
Yes. Yeah, it has to make also with respect, Sean. If you
Yeah.
have respect to that one, yes, it works not like that, that I will think for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to receive your information through your media. I
Mm-hmm.
want to observe it, and
Mm-hmm.
then I want to digest it, and then I want to
Mm-hmm.
give a reaction. It's quite quickly. It could be in 1 second, in 2 seconds, in five, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the pleasure. This communication, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't like yet anymore, and already not for many years, the non-verbal communication through just touching and weight transfer. That's one of the tools, but it's not the tool. And it's also in the ballroom world, it's a little bit negative. I think it's negative, so I'm not sure that the lead and follow is from a traditional way, men and women. You said it already, Sean. And this is actually not 2023, because actually the women would then be a slave of the man, and what the man expect the woman had to do. So actually it's not on an equal basis, and it's also I think it's discrimination at that way if you do this totally like that. But that's a harsh answer from me, but this is the way how I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's you need to do it by both, and both need to have pleasure from it. And if you are used to follow as a woman, as a girl, or as a partner, then this is the way how you do it. But there are more ways to have more fun from it. So the
Mm-hmm.
communication non-verbal, I think it's very, very important to
Mm-hmm.
have respect, to discover the tools,
Mm-hmm.
to discover who you are actually, and then
Yeah.
try to find the fun in it.
Yeah, I think a little bit harsh on this topic than you, Tom. I think the wording that was used, leader and follow. I think I met in the past enough dance teachers who also struggled a little bit with this word. When I was translating it a little bit for them, which you should never do actually, right? I should have asked them, but I do it anyhow. I was more hearing about, in a traditional way, it is almost always the men who initiate the movement, or and then the at least the dancers that I respect the most, they leave a lot of room for the lady to interpret how that movement then develops. Now there are, of course, there were enough dancers, and they're still here today, where they say the man leads and the lady has to follow what I do. I'm not talking about those. That had never my interest to follow those people, to be honest. But I like the word, like, hey, initiate. Who initiate the moment? Like, I initiate now this part of the conversation respectfully, and I think you should make a shift. That, am I always the man who should initiate it? And that I totally agree with you. No, but you cannot both initiate at the same time, at least not in that concept. If we talk about other dance concept, actually you can, right? Because Ton and I believe that nothing is actually impossible. It's always a choice, right? But I always say, you cannot vote behind the steering wheel of the car, but it's not always traditional. That was true too, right? The men would drive the car, and that, of course, could be a slide. So that's the nuance what I want to give. Who initiate the first part of the conversation, but then it goes back and forward.
It's very interesting, Sean. I listen with respect.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's also I receive it with respect, but
Hmm.
I will not wait that you are finished and I will do something in dancing. It's a non-verbal
Yeah.
communication. So
Yeah.
actually, what I see in dancing is you
Yeah.
speak and the other one is totally still or
Yeah.
empty.
But you don't.
What
You
you
have
could
to.
do, so you are the driver at that moment.
Hmm.
Say it would be a car, your
Hmm.
dance, and the car is dancing, and you drive that car at that moment. I'm respectful, let you drive, but still I can speak with words, or I can speak with my body language,
Yeah.
or I can look to you, and but I will fill always the empty
Spaces.
spot there with
Yeah.
yes in my being. So even when I stand there, I have something um,
Oh.
to say, and even when I'm not that active at that moment in dancing, still I could anticipate on that one and
Hmm.
still start a little bit earlier or start when he is total finished or the group is finished. So this makes it really interesting to watch when this that you not have one active and one dead person there who doing nothing, or you have a person who really is trying to get in that what you are doing and continue in her way
Hmm.
of doing it.
Yeah, but you can play it right now, right? The way you spoke just a few moments ago, right, on that same topic, there was almost no room for me to say, yes, yeah, I got it, so to fill in the gaps. But if I would talk
Mhm.
about the same topic like now, but I leave a little bit more pause for you to say, yeah, Tom, so do you still go with me? Do you agree with this part? You say, so it goes. I mean, if I just talk like this and Tom, you have to just, can you listen for a few moments, because I have something important to say and I want you to
Yes.
see.
Wait,
Then
wait, one
I
moment.
yeah.
Start again. I will sit.
Yeah. So if I talk like this, saying, "Hey Tom, listen, this is really important. I am talking right now. I give you in a moment to talk, and but we're talking about partnering, and it's important that I take the steering wheel. So I left no room for the other one to do,
Okay,
and then
now I will start, Sean. I can speak now, and I think it was very interesting. So it sounds a little bit. I
mechanic.
sit straight up
Yeah.
mechanically,
Yeah.
yes,
Mechanic.
and this is also important to find an organic way how to communicate with each other.
So if I now talk about the same, but I give a little bit more pause and I give a little bit, hey Tom, do you still follow what I'm saying? And then the other one can, maybe it's a little bit more like, yes, I agree, yes, and then it's more organic, more natural than saying, hey, like a traditional classroom, listen to me, and then I will listen to
Yeah.
you and you listen to me. It could go
Yes,
a little bit at the same time, filling up the
yes,
gaps with each
yes,
other. Like, see, Ton is now saying yes
yes,
when I do, and that's very
yes.
natural. And now I feel also heard. But if Ton says, not quite
Mhm.
understand what you're saying there, I can pause a little bit, try to say it in a different way, and
Yes.
that's an important way of communicating. So you see also, listeners, that we have a lot more rest when we talk. And I see Tom now is putting his finger. He wants to say
Y-
something.
Yes, and this is the communication. Actually, we do it with words now and with body language, but actually, you can translate this everything in your movement, in your body parts, in your 10 body parts, how they move through space and time. And this is the tools where we're speaking about it. There are so many tools, and
Yeah,
yes, it's
yeah.
be aware of your sentence, be aware
Your
of
senses,
your
yeah.
senses. Be aware of your senses, be aware of your body language, be aware of your cultural background, be aware of your limitations and your possibilities, and try to communicate that in harmony. We did it in words now, but you
Mm.
can do it
Yeah.
non-verbal on that floor. It's actually almost the same tools, I would say.
Yeah, no, I would say too. And if if we're really open and honest, if you listen to our podcast, then you see sometimes that either me or Tom sometimes just keep rambling. The other one is already want to say something, but we're not always aware of it. And then so I'll play it for a moment, and you see typically my eyes moving a little bit there, and I'm just now on my own. Does that make sense? I'm on my. It happens to us all the time. So the fact that Ton and I do and play this now does not mean that doesn't happen to us. But becoming aware of this, that is actually what Ton was talking about. Become aware that we all have that sometimes. We want to finish this, and we're not. If we communicate, it's not important me by myself. Ton is also not important by myself. It is what we create together is becomes more important. So we call that a synergetic effect, where two becomes, one and one is not two, but one and one becomes three or even more, right?
I
And
would say one on one becomes one.
well, that is what some people say, but let me tell you this, right? Let me tell you, give you this. So that could be two. You could be that's. I mean, there was another dancer who said that. The point is that if you in the traditional putting bricks in the street and if we both carry the bricks and put them in, both carry the bricks and put them in the street, we would never go as far as that. At times I bring you the bricks, you put them in, and then we could switch roles. In the traditional way we would never switch roles, right? We would only, one was the brick bringer and the other one was the brick layer. You will see if you do that in a nice respectful way that you will go almost proven twice as far, whatever that means. More creative, more fun, more respect, whatever far means in this. So, no, I know, Tom, there's a lot of things about the oneness and stuff like that, but these are all too philosophical. Uh, uh, these are two philosophical things for me where people say, oh, the dancers move as one. I said, no, I still would like to see individuals, but they move in a certain coordination. I would love to. If Ton dances with me, it's not like, oh, we see Ton Jean, Jean-Ton. Now we
Yeah,
see
yes,
Ton and
yes,
Jean,
yes.
but we no one, at times maybe we want to be like this, but at times we also maybe want to be
Mm.
like this, and maybe at times we want to be just like that. And in ballroom dancing, we this is where they often start, and they most of the time, and I'm a little bit harsh now too, they think then, okay, this is the goal, but who says that this cannot be the goal either?
Hmm,
Yeah,
hmm.
that's a little
Yes,
bit where we are coming
yes.
from.
Then I
Yeah.
go for one plus one is three.
Well, I think both is a little bit true, because
Yeah, yes.
at moment it is another word that we can talk about, Ton, and we are sorry guys if we are a little bit too fanatic in this. So you have to be, some people say, oh, partnering is if you and you are perfectly in sync. Now
Uh,
let's take that one.
it's a choice. It's a choice.
It's a choice. Yeah, I think there is a moment of being perfectly in sync is perfect, but I can guarantee you, if you would see, even if Tom and I dance together, if we would dance the whole time perfectly in sync, I think you would very quickly go to the bathroom and think like, that's extremely boring.
I don't know if they go to the bathroom, but I think if they would look television or listen to this podcast, they would
Yep.
switch to another podcast.
Yeah.
So yes, it's understandable because when you do 3 minutes in sync, then phew, what is it's quite flat then. So
Right.
I you need that interaction. If you have a group, the whole group dance, and then one doing totally different ones, and still when the other one stops, the whole group could like look to like a surprise to it, and then of course you have also another factor. It's also a partner. It's the sounds what you have. And another partner is your environment, the space. It's also media,
Yeah.
and the audience, or the I call them perceivers. I don't call them audience because the audience has not to cannot perceive. So when you have the perceivers, that's a medium.
Yeah.
And if the communication is also through audience, because when I would say the audience is not reacting, then it's because the receiver is not, or the sender is not giving enough to receive, because then probably for the audience it's quite,
Yeah.
yeah, normal. And this is also partnering. It's a partnering through audience, through with the music. You partner also with the sounds what you hear in the music. It's not just the beats, tuck 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 tuck. If you would only do this one, the whole music, then you're partnering with that music. It's also flat, so it needs variation. Sometimes you let the music speak, sometimes the dancer speaks in sync with the music and with all the layers what is in it, and sometimes you ignore it. And if you have then a partnership with your group, with the music, with the perceivers, and the space around you and time, then if you realize that you have so many skill of not skills tools,
Yeah.
then you have more ability to choose.
Yeah. No, I agree, but I have a question for you, Tom. So I do understand, of course, all this. Well, don't say of course, because, but I do understand all this. But we often in dance we talk about either a performance like a show, or we dance in a dance competition where we dance, let's say, pre-made choreography. So if you and I have a we now agreed to talk about this topic, partnering. So, but for the rest, it's kind of free what you and I want to talk about. But we could have also said, hey, Ton, we're going exactly around point to point. How can we then still, I mean, I'm pretending like I don't know, right? How can we, within a set choreography, still give that sense of communication? Because I already know the answer. You know, I know when you go left and I go right. How can we still make that into a more communicative way?
You have, when you start
Mhm,
to make that choreography, you are first in your muscle exploration. You
mhm,
explore that from existence movements,
mhm,
you create something new.
mhm.
Then you have your, say, your choreography or your movements,
Oh, yeah, the
um,
routine. Yeah.
your routine. And from there, you build up a muscle memory. And now it comes the secret. If once you have that build up that muscle memory, you could play with it. The muscle memory manipulation. You manipulate at that moment what you have practiced, the muscle memory,
Mhm,
and then you can manipulate that into the partnering from the group or the person, or from girl to girl, or from boy to boy, or from boy to girl, to the music, because, and to the audience or to the perceivers, because you can handle the how you say, the picture, but the picture has the outline in black, but the colors inside, so the black picture, the outline is set, but inside that picture, the colors, you could manipulate that one. And
yeah.
once you are at that level, you reach a high level. And then you also free in your mind,
Mhm,
and it looks, in my way, not
mhm,
so mechanically, and it looks also not
mhm,
like you are filling the floor with your
mhm.
like a human being. It looks like everybody is doing that, but you have, in my opinion, one step higher. You
Yeah.
would answer this different, Sean?
No, I would answer definitely in the same direction. I think it's a mindset change for many dancers, specifically in dances where they dance a set choreography with a partner, and then come back to the answer in question. Is I think a lot of people practice. I answer always this question, and you always have to give this answer, and they try to perfect that by nature. Even if you dance on the same music, in the same audience, in the same room, there will always be a slight difference because we moved in time. What Tom tried to say, or what we both actually always say, is you don't have to give the same answer. You can also ask the question slightly different. You don't ask a completely different question. You just say, you give your intonation slightly different. And so the answer would also be slightly different. And I think that's a mindset change for a lot of people, to be honest. That's what I think. I also think, yes, that requires a higher skill, but that mindset, I believe we need to help dancers as young as possible to bring that mindset in as well. Yeah, that focus that there can only be one answer, or there's one way, then it is good, or it's perfect. I think that is a little bit. I think it requires a higher skill, but the mindset needs to be brought in at a very young age.
Yes, people not realize, and this is a very negative point of approach. Um, you can open the doors more to get in it. I will explain it. They not realize, and I like that what you said. One is set, he do the steps like it was, and the other one you already know he will react like this because they practice it like that.
Yes.
So what is then real? It's actually just a trick what you learned, and
Yes.
you it's like I give another example. You are actually an artist who is painting on that floor in the air. So what you make, it will also disappear. But could you actually, when a painter would make a real painting and would try to make each painting exactly the same,
Well,
like in a
impossible.
factory? Yes, and what is the art of it then? So he can paint, but he can paint in the same style, but still every picture would be different, and a painting would be different. And this is on the dance floor exactly the same. You
Exactly.
have your structure, but you can the outline is black and it's fixed because you have built up that muscle memory. But the colors inside, you have so many colors what you could
Choices.
do, and
Yes.
so many choices, and still you limit yourself to that one product of
Yeah.
partnering. But actually, it comes to the partnering. At the end, it's still every time a new communication, a new partnering together.
Yeah. Keeps it. I don't want to say keeps it fresh, but keeps it definitely more interesting. And this is, most of you listeners hopefully by now know that I'm a mental coach, and so if I touch my partner for that day, whether it's to walk on the floor or whatever, I am fully try to be at least fully aware how she feels at that moment. Maybe her muscles are a little bit more tensed than normal, but I'm not going to say her loosen up a little bit. I'm just being aware because it could be, and I'd say this specifically to the guys in the traditional sense of the word, but it's actually true for both. The fact that she feels different from me that day doesn't mean that she is the one who's different. It could be me. Just be aware that the circumstances are slightly different. You go from one round to the other, the room could be more hot or cold. It's perfectly fine. Use that because it changes everything already a little bit. So the color, it is a positive. it's a great thing to redo that communication with a slightly different color. You should be curious to that instead of trying to bring it back to that same thing. And that is, I think, a mindset and a game changer to have that mindset. That you should at least try, at least in my opinion. I don't hear you, Tom.
There is more in the partnering, Sean. When you are on the competition floor in the ballroom Latin or
Mhm.
in the hip hop world, there is also a partner
Oh yeah.
and partnering, and you could use that. So in the hip hop, this happened.
Yeah.
Somebody brings is running in, so he make his first run and dance, and
Yep.
the other one could react on it. But during his run, he react already on it, the opponent, I would say. But on the floor in the ballroom Latin
Same
would be
thing.
exactly the same. So you
Same thing.
could use that on a positive way.
Yep.
In the ballroom world, what happened when somebody comes close to you, they look like a very dirty what, and then they go. But you could use it on a friendly way
Yeah.
and use it. And then you get not in couple dance in the ballroom with two, you dance then with four at that moment in this 5 seconds. So if you realize that you can partner also in that one, it
Yep.
brings so much more color on the floor. And now it's I see only outlines on the floor.
Yeah, I agree. So in a technical term that's often used in dancing and in other art forms is called the strength of the medium, right? And it changes every time, every moment it changes. Not being aware of that change, you actually fight more to get it and keep it the same, which becomes very static. And dance is every art form is an alive thing. I think Ton gave a incredibly good example. If you give an artist, a painter, this exact same colors and the same canvas, you will see. We had an interview with a painter just a few weeks ago, so you can listen to it. By the way, you can see that he studies the canvas, and although it looks for someone who is not so skilled that it's the same thing, it's for the artist, it's not the same thing. Even if it's the same colors, it's not the same colors. So if we ask him to say, can you exactly paint the same thing? He'd probably say, that's impossible. Even if it looks for you the same, because and so it's not even interested in making the same. Now, there
Yes,
were
and
some people who were very skillful in making it exactly the same. You could call that art, in a way, artistic too, if you could do that, and you can learn from mirroring. You can learn from trying to do the same, but it's just one step in the process.
yeah, it's partnering has more than only one tool. And
Yes.
if you have more than one tool, you have options. And
Yeah.
when you have options, you can choose,
Yeah.
but always with respect how you send that non-verbal communication to your
Hmm.
receiver and how the receiver will receive it. You cannot speak for them. They
Hmm.
will speak for themselves how they received it in with the media, the eyes, the media, the ears, the media, the touch, and the brain will make one information from it. And yes, what I want to say, dancers don't just study your dance and repeat them. Yes, repeat them, do it a lot, many times, make a muscle memory from it, but there is something more after that. And we call it muscle memory manipulation.
That is correct. Well, a lot to say about partnering. I think it's magical that you create, whether you call go from two and then become one. That's up to you. I like to say one and one can become more than two. And so that is also what nature does, right? Nature makes out of two things, they make more out of it. So the
Yes.
components that it brings together and that's always very surprising. That's what I would say. We would love to for you to explore and also react to us. What does partnering means for you? Um, and then we'll definitely start to build on that. There's so much to say around this topic, Tom. We still didn't talk about the trust and all the other things, but I think we discussed a very few topics that at least were very close to our hearts, right? Is, yes, the cater around it, the outline might be already set, the black line, but the coloring in could be, infinite amount of different colors.
Yes,
Um,
and
and
can you imagine when you have 16 or 20 or 30 or 50 dancers on the floor,
yeah,
how to communicate non-verbal? If you could do this with so many people,
yeah,
because each person has a different body,
yeah,
different mindset. So how to bring that collective on one message? And then in that collective you could also still manipulate and the other one could react on it. That's this is the magic,
yeah.
in
It's
my
so true.
opinion.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is so true. Yeah. Um, all right, but there is definitely something magical if it's everything is in order. People like to see order, like they see soldiers marching in rows for some reason that has some attraction to people too. But one does not exclude. That's what Ton and I try to say. One doesn't exclude the other one. There is so many choices, and explore the choices, and then whatever you choose to do would then become more stronger because of the choices you make from a conscious level, also in partnering.
Yes, and it's also in the partnering because in my method, I work with the proprioception of the 10 body parts. Proprioception means body awareness, and I put it in 10 points. And if I would dance standard dancing like an English waltz, and I would start with it, I could put first my left arm and my fingers and my hand, but I could also put first my right arm, or first I will stand, I just breathe. My partner will react on it and she come with both arms and will. So you have even in that one, in your body parts, so many different choices where the other one could react on it. And what I see on the floor, even the world champion in all these different organizations, and the Blackpool champion and international, these are very famous competitions in the ballroom world and in the Latin, that you see already a preset beginning. It's already fixed. And this, they feel convenience with it. And with this one, they can put an, the choice is already made before, and I think you have tools, and if you can have a partnering, my part, yeah, I would like to play with such of elements of the 10 body parts. Which body part would start first, and which body part you would react on it?
Yeah, and I think you can. Definitely a few couples, ballroom couples that work with me. I did exactly what you said. I said, it doesn't always have to be like this, right? It doesn't. I mean, no one, because the champion did it doesn't mean that you have to do it, right? So that's often what it is, and we call that defined. And some people believe that there is more defined than not. So at least explore the other options. That's what I would say. Be a little bit bold, follow your instincts,
Yes.
also a little bit, and then the possibilities are limitless. And that doesn't mean that you have to do something entirely different. Remember, the black lines could
Mhm.
still be the same. Just the
Yes,
color,
yes,
the color is slightly different.
yes.
Ton, we are reaching the end point of our podcast today. I'm sure you, or probably me too, want to say a lot more about the magic of partnering. So we probably bring it back because it's a super large topic in dance, and we actually only talked about now partnering within couples, but there is, of course, I know
Audience,
you have with audience. We have also
music.
larger group of dancers too. So we have warm
Yeah, a
up,
larger
warm up,
group of dancers and the music
and
also,
music. So we
and
had
your maybe your opponents on the floor.
opponents
It's
on the
it's a
floor.
it's a cooperation and
Yeah,
communication with all these medias. And when we do a small recap of it, and I would say use your sentence for it.
senses. Yeah,
Uh, Senses, sorry, senses, your eyes, your ears, your touch, yeah, even your
smell.
smelling. Yes, and use that and realize that you are communicating, that you sending, and have respect how the other one will receive it. And don't try to speak for the other one. And be, and this is one thing what I didn't say, use your focus also. And the focus will mean not only with looking, with hearing, with thinking, and with feeling of your body parts, the proprioception. So you have four focus points: looking, listening, thinking about it, feeling. It's also a focus, and I would put that under the proprioception of how you feel, your body awareness, and be focused in all that areas, and send it with respect and with time. How Sean explained it, take some time for it, and take also the reaction on it. And how more you practice this, how more there will come out of it. And try what Sean told, the black lines, the outline, and color with different in that lines, inside the lines with different colors, and it will always look fresh and new.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
forgot something, Sean?
No, good recap. I think good recap. So listeners, this was another episode of Dance Gems. Today we talked about partnering and the magic of partnering. We'll hope to see you, of course, back in another episode, Ton, and I'll hope that you are with us again, and then we talk. About another topic. I think we have one topic that I already have in mind, and we'll talk about it the next time. Yes.
Yes.
All right. With that, I'll say to you all bye bye. And we'll see you
Bye
next
bye.
time. These were the Dance Jams. The power of partnering, the magic of more than once. And we see you in our next episode of Dance Jams.
Yeah, goodbye.